You can hear my voice, Prabhu. Naruttavila
So yes, Mother, yes.
Is it clear and audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Ya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Savadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamsya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunadanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rushabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanshyakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudidayet Nasta Praye Svabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtiki हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. I think devotees have not joined yet, but I'm going to start the verse. Later they can maybe hear the recording. Dear devotees, Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Today's verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 10th chapter, 22nd verse. I'm going to read the verse, and if possible, if any one of you can repeat after me. So Srimad Bhagavatam 1:10-22. Saeva bhuyo nijavirya choditam swajivamayam prakritim shishikshatim anamarupatmani rupanamani vidishtamano anusasara sashrakrit Saeva bhuyo nijavirya choditam swajivamayam prakritim shishikshatim Anamarupatmani rupanamani vidishtamano anusasara sashrakrit Saeva bhuyo nijavirya choditam swajivamayam prakritim srishikshatim Anamarupatmani rupanamani vidishtamano anusasara sashrakrit. If anyone of you wants to repeat the verse.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. Saeva bhuyo nijavira choditam tvajiva mayam prakritim sistrakshatim anama rupatmani rupanamani viditsamano nusasara shastrakrit. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Devotees, would you please repeat? Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Saeva bhuyo nija virya choditam swajivamayam prakritim sishukshyatim anama rupatmani rupanamani vidishtamanu nusasara shastrakrit.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Anyone else wants to please?
Thank you, Mataji. Saeva bhuyo nijavirya choditam swajivamayam prakritam saskrishatim anamarupatmani rupanamani viditsamano anusasara shastrakrit. Krishna.
Thank you so much, Anita. Thank you so much. So I'm going to go to the synonyms. Sa, he, eva, thus, bhuyaha, again, nija, own personal, virya, potency, choditam, performance of, swa, own, jiva, living being, mayam, external energy, prakritim, onto material nature, shishikshatim, while recreating, anama, without mundane designation, rupa, atmani, forms of the soul, rupa, namani, forms and names, vidisha, vidishtamanaha, desiring to avoid, anusasara, entrusted, shashtrakrut, the compiler of revealed scriptures. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The personality of Godhead, again desiring to give names and forms to his parts and parcels, the living entities, place them under the guidance of material nature. By his own potency, material nature is empowered to recreate. Purport. The living entities are parts and parcels of the Lord. They are of two varieties, namely Nitya Mukta and Nitya Baddha. The Nitya Muktas are eternally liberated souls, and they are eternally engaged in the reciprocation of transcendental loving service with the Lord in his eternal abode beyond the manifested mundane creations. But the Nitya Baddha, or eternally conditioned souls, are entrusted to his external energy Maya for rectification of their rebellious attitude towards the Supreme Father. Nitya Baddhas are eternally forgetful of their relationship with the Lord as parts and parcels. They are bewildered by the illusory energy as products of matter, and thus they are very busy in making plans in the material world for becoming happy. They go on merrily with plans, but by the will of the Lord, both the plan makers and the plans are annihilated at the end of a certain period, as above mentioned. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9.7 as follows. O son of Kunti, at the end of millennium, all the living entities merge into my nature, and again, when the time of creation is ripe, I begin creation by the agency of my external energy. The word bhuyaha indicates again and again, that is to say, the process of creation, maintenance, and annihilation is going on perpetually by the external energy of the Lord. He is the cause of everything, but the living beings who are constitutionally part and parcel of the Lord and are forgetful of this sweet relation are given a chance again and again to get rid of the clutches of the external energy and to receive the living being's consciousness. The revealed scriptures are also created by the Lord. Vedic literatures are the guiding directions for the conditioned souls so they can get free from the repetition of creation and annihilation of the material world and the material body. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, this created world and material energy are under my control. Under the influence of Prakriti, automatically they are created again and again, and this is done by me through the agency of my external energy. Actually, the spiritual spark living entities have no material forms, no material names or forms, but in order to fulfill their desire to lord it over the material energy of the material forms and names, they are given a chance for such false enjoyment, and at the same time they are given a chance to understand the real position through the revealed scriptures. The foolish and forgetful living being is always busy with false forms and false names. Modern nationalism is the culmination of such false names and false forms. Men are mad after false name and form. The form of body obtained under certain conditions is taken up as factual, and the name also taken bewilders the conditioned soul into misusing the energy in the name of so many isms. The scriptures, however, supply the clue for understanding the real position, but men are reluctant to take lessons from the scriptures created by the Lord for different places and times. For example, the Bhagavad Gita is the guiding principle for all human beings, but by the spell of material energy, they do not take care to carry out the programs of the life in terms of the Bhagavad Gita. Srimad Bhagavatam is a postgraduate study of knowledge for one who has thoroughly understood the principles of Bhagavad Gita. Unfortunately, people have no taste for them, and therefore they are under the clutches of Maya for repetition of birth and death. Yeah. So, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Basically, before going into very deep discussion of the subject matter of this particular verse with different references from different scriptures, I just want to discuss a little bit from the purport of Srila Prabhupada. This verse is very, very beautifully explained by Srila Prabhupada. Everything is pretty clear. So Krishna is saying, because Srila Prabhupada is mentioning the purport that Krishna had entrusted us to this material energy, to the illusory energy of Krishna only, just to correct ourselves, our rebellious attitude towards Krishna. We have been given an opportunity to correct ourselves because Krishna, usually what is the constitutional actual position of the living entity? We are eternally servants of Krishna. Jivere Swarupaya Nitya Krishna Dasa. We are servants of Krishna. Krishna is the enjoyer, basically. Krishna is the protector, our protector. Krishna is our maintainer. But instead of becoming servants to him, we have become competitors of Krishna. Because when Krishna is the enjoyer, we want to enjoy ourselves. When Krishna is the protector, we want to protect ourselves. When Krishna is the maintainer, we want to maintain ourselves without depending on Krishna. We have developed animosity, enviousness towards Krishna. So we want to enjoy separately from Krishna. So Krishna is our eternal Father. So he wants to give us an opportunity to correct ourselves. That is why he does so many things. He not only he creates this material world for rectification of our mistakes, but he also maintains the world, this world, and also he annihilates the world, and again he recreates. See, Krishna can actually punish us in the spiritual world itself. When we are becoming against Krishna, he has every authority to punish us there in the spiritual world only. But Srila Rupa Goswami in the next Nectar of Instruction says that atonement is not going to give any benefit. Punishment is not going to bring the transformation in the heart. He has given examples also. Suppose a thief is there, he steals, right? What is the occupation of the thief? He go and robs, he steals, right? When he does that, actually he was given a punishment. He is being sent to the jail. Even after having 6 months or 1 year punishment, when he comes out of the jail, he again starts stealing. That means that punishment is not bringing transformation in his heart, because the tendency to commit mistakes is still there in the heart. It is deeply rooted in the heart. It will not go with punishment. So one has to have repentance. Srila Rupa Goswami says, Paschatyapa. We have to repent for whatever the mistakes we have done previously. When we have to correct ourselves and we have to realize ourselves. That is the reason why Krishna basically sent all of us to this material world, which is created by him out of compassion, basically. And he maintains also and gives us lots and lots of opportunities. And finally, he gets frustrated. I was listening one of the Gauranga Darshan Prabhu's lecture. He's saying that Krishna gets frustrated finally, and he gets angry and he annihilates the entire world. Just Krishna in the form of Sankarshana, when Sankarshana opens his mouth, lots and lots of fire comes out from his mouth. So it will completely, this fire burnt out the entire universe. Because why he gets frustrated, he thinks that these are all my children, and I'm giving them an opportunity to rectify themselves. Still they're reluctant to rectify their mistakes, and still they want to enjoy themselves. They don't want to come to me. In that state, he actually gets frustrated, and in the form of Sankarshana, he annihilates everything. Again, that's what Srila Prabhupada very beautifully explained in the purport. Again and again, we are committing mistakes, and again, Krishna is giving us an opportunity to correct our mistakes. Again, he creates, he maintains, he annihilates. Again, he creates, maintains, annihilates. So many, not only he does so many other things also. He himself appears in this material world, right? He himself appears in so many forms, just to give pleasure to his devotees in this material world, and just to establish the dharma again, last dharma again, and to annihilate the miscreants. He comes, right? He comes. So that he is doing. And not only that, he's sending his representatives on behalf of him to rectify us, to lift us from the fallen situation, that he's doing. Moreover, he's doing another thing. He's giving the revealed scriptures, basically, so many scriptures, by giving lots and lots of instructions to us how to rectify ourselves, by reading with the hope that, with the expectation that we would take that opportunity, and we would read the scriptures, and we would understand the instruction of the Supreme Lord, and we would try to go back to him. So this many things he is doing for us, but still, we want to enjoy merrily in this material world. We don't want to realize anything, because we are completely under the illusion of Maya. So basically, with this basic understanding, I'm going to start the deep discussion of this particular subject matter of this verse. We will start, okay? So now, basically, we have been reading this verse for the last few weeks, right? So the 10th canto of first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th chapter. So basically, if we go back and see from the verse 1 to 6, what is mentioning the kingdom of, the ruling of the kingdom of King Yudhishthir, how he was actually ruling it, and how the kingdom was pretty prosperous, and how the subjects were very, very happy. All these things are mentioned. From 7th to 14th, the intensity of the attractiveness of Krishna's, attractiveness, the intensity of the influence of Krishna's attractiveness is mentioned, and also the loving separation of Hastinapura devotees for the Supreme Lord is mentioned. And from 15th to 19th verses, basically how Krishna was appropriately honored by showering flowers very nicely, and by playing so many musical different instruments, and by fanning the chamara, and the Brahmanas' benedictions for Sri Krishna. All these things are explained. And from 20th to 31st verse, basically the discussion between the Hastinapura ladies who are the pure devotees of the Lord, especially the 21 and 22 verses, it is mentioned very beautifully. So the point is actually, are they actually, when we see this verse, the translation is saying, right, the personality of Godhead. So basically we are going to discuss the essence of this verse. How do we understand the supremacy of the original position of the supremacy of the Krishna, and how he empowers Prakriti, how he creates. Basically there are so many things, why he creates, what is the reason for his appearance in this material world, why he creates and how he creates, and why we should read scriptures. So many aspects are there in this, how about Nitya Padas and Nitya Muktas. So all these things we will slowly discuss one after the one another. So basically, if you see here, they're saying in the translation, the personality of Godhead. So who is talking this? The ladies of Hastinapura, who are very great devotees of the Lord. So when we go to previous verse, I just want to go to a little bit of previous verse. In this verse, they are saying, here he is, the original personality of Godhead. See, they are saying Krishna that he is the original personality of Godhead. They are calling him like that. And here also in this verse, they are saying that the personality of Godhead. So how do they have this kind of understanding without reading? They have not read any scriptures, basically. They have not read any scriptures in their life. Just it's their devotion. How do they understand, the original position of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna? Even after reading, everyday reading and all these things, we do a little bit of reading every day and all that, but we are not able to understand the constitution, actual original position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But these ladies, actually, they're very, very innocent housewives. Actually, they don't read any scriptures. They don't have any knowledge of scriptural knowledge or any knowledge. They don't have any knowledge, but still they could be able to understand the originality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How sweet, right? So how do they understand? Krishna, it is mentioned by the acharyas that just by devotional service, they have developed such kind of love for Krishna. So they are able to understand the original situation of the original position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So in 15.15, Krishna says, right, Sarvasya Chaham Kruti Sannivisto Matah Smrutir Gnanam Apohanancha Vedescha Sarver Ahameda Veja. So the essence of all Vedas is that one has to, after reading, one has to have the understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Basically, one has to understand Krishna. So without reading any scriptures, these gopis have attained all the knowledge of scriptures and could be able to understand the position of Krishna, right? So in 1855, I'm going to refer a verse which is beautifully mentioned that by devotional service, actually we can attain Krishna. So here, this is Bhagavad Gita 18.55. So it is mentioned here, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yamanyascha shmita tvadaha tato mam tatvato jnatva vishate tadanantaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the right understanding of the Hastinapura ladies, devotees of the Lord, only by devotional service, not with anything. And when one is in full Krishna, full consciousness of me, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So it is clearly mentioned in 18.55 that only through devotional service we can realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Okay, now actually, if we go the next section we are going to go is how do see gopis are very, very higher level. They are very, very higher level. They have so much of love for Krishna. They through their devotional service they have achieved the highest level of prema bhakti for Krishna. But in our case, actually, we are very ordinary human beings and sadhaka bhaktas trying to understand Krishna. So how do we understand the supremacy of Krishna? By referring some verses from different scriptures, we can at least try to understand the supremacy, his energies and everything we can basically understand. So basically we can start with Brahma Samhita verse actually, where it is mentioned that Isvaraha Parama Krishna Sachit Ananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Isvaraha, controller, Parama, supreme, Krishna. So supreme controller is Sri Krishna. Sachit Ananda Vigraha. He has an eternal blissful form for us to worship. And Anadir Adir Govinda. He is the origin of everything, and there is no other origin to him. He is the only origin, and he is the cause of all causes. Sarva Karana Karanam. So he is the cause of all causes. This is said by Brahma basically. Okay, Brahma said, and now Shiva is saying there is a verse quoted from Padma Purana in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 11.31 that Aradhananam Sarvesham Vishnoraradhanam Param Tasmat Paradaram Devi Tadiyanam Samarchanam. Translation: Lord Shiva told the goddess Durga, my dear Devi, although the Vedas recommend worship of demigods, the worship of Lord Vishnu is topmost. However, above the worship of Lord Vishnu is the rendering of service to Vaishnavas who are related to Lord Vishnu. But it is clearly mentioned by Lord Shiva to God Devi that the worship of Lord Vishnu is the topmost. Okay, so now actually we can go to the other verses, 12.3.1 from Srimad Bhagavatam. Just a minute. Yeah. In Adi, actually in the Adi Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela also in the 5th chapter of 142 verse also saying that Ye Kale Isvara Krishna Arasabha Brutya Yare Chena Chayase Taiche Kare Nutya. Lord Krishna alone is a supreme controller and all others are his servants. Very nice, right? They dance as he makes them to do so. So we are dancing, we are basically we are all puppets in the hands of the Supreme Lord. He is the supreme controller. So then it is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam 12.13.1. Sutta Goswami is saying that very, very beautiful verse. It's talking about Krishna's supremacy again. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistaver Vedai Sangapada Kramapunishader Gayantiyam Samaga Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pasyanti Yam Yogino Yasyantam Na Vidu Sura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Sutta Goswami is saying, onto that personality whom Brahma, Varuna, Indra, Rudra, and the Maruts praise by chanting transcendental hymns and reciting the Vedas with all their corollaries, Pada Kramas and Upanishads, Padakramas and Upanishads, to whom the chanters of Samaveda always sing, whom the perfected yogis see within their minds, and after fixing themselves in trance and absorbing themselves within him, and whose limit can never be found by any demigod or demon, unto that personality of Godhead I offer my obeisances. So this is the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not only all the demigods, all the sages, everybody are praying, actually offering praise to the Supreme Lord. So, and again, when we go to 1.3.28, it is very, very nice verse is mentioned here. Yetecham shakalah pumsha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Hrudayanti Yuge Yuge. All the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. But Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. So the gopis had, the Hastinapura ladies, devotees of the Lord have this kind of understanding. Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. They were also mentioning the same thing, right? all of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance created with the atheists. The Lord incarnates to protect the theists. So Krishna's supremacy also very nicely mentioned here. And also in Bhagavad Gita 7.7, Krishna all by himself says, Mata parataram nanyat kinchit asti dhananjaya mayi sarvam idam protam sutre mani ganaiva. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So Krishna, himself is mentioning here about his supremacy. Okay, now actually there is a Chatusloki Bhagavatam verses starts from 2.9.33 to 36, 33, 34, 35, 36. Krishna himself is mentioning about himself, his supremacy, and also his energies, and finally he also talks about Bhakti Yoga. So we will go through these verses. Aham yevasham evagre nanyadya sadashat param paschadaham yad yetascha yovashishyeta so asmyaham. Krishna is saying, and the Supreme Lord is saying, Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation when there was nothing but myself. So before creation, also Lord was the only one existing. Nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. Material nature is nothing is there. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead. So basically, Krishna is saying before annihilation, at the time of annihilation, and after at the time of maintaining, and the creation is maintained. After the annihilation, also he is the one who actually remains, the personality of Godhead. And after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead, right? See how he is Krishna himself, Lord Krishna himself is mentioning here. And when we go to the next verse here, it is talking about Krishna's energies. Artirtam yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tad vidyadatmano mayam yata basho yata tamaha. Oh Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. So Krishna is talking about his potencies, everything has to have a connection with Krishna. Otherwise, it doesn't have any value. If it is not connected with Krishna, it doesn't have any value. No, it is my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in the darkness. So Krishna is talking about this very nicely. And next words also saying very nice. It was also very nice. Yata mahanti bhutani bhuteshu chvasheshvano pravishanti apravisthani tadateshu natveshaham. O Brahma, please know that the universal elements enter into the cosmos and at the same time do not enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist within everything created, and at the same time I am outside of everything. So Krishna is created, right? So he's there in everything as a Paramatma, in each and every atom in a Paramatma. At the same time, he's not there. He's out of that. Basically, it means that he's into everything. He's out of everything also. So he's there everywhere, basically. In the last verse, it is mentioning very beautifully that Etadeva jignasyam tattva sunatmanaha anvaya vitirekabhyam yatsyat sarvatra sarvada. A person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, when we want to search for the Supreme Lord, basically who is the absolute truth, must certainly search for it up to this. Up to this means the last three verses. We have to achieve that. We have to understand what Krishna is saying in the last three verses. In all circumstances, in all ways, and indirectly means by the persons, Bhagavata persons, basically the pure devotees of the Lord. We have to understand Krishna's supremacy. So this is all about Krishna's supremacy. Now the next section we go is why do Krishna appears in this material world is mentioned. Why do Krishna appears, basically? Okay, Krishna appears for a reason. Out of compassion, it is beautifully mentioned in one of the Bhagavatam verses. But before that, we can just refer these verses 4.7 and 4.8. Yadha yadha hi dharmasya glanir bharata abhyurta nama dharmasya tadatmanam srujamyaham. And Krishna says, whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practices, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. So Krishna is giving the regions whenever there is a decline, when the irreligious activities are established. So he wanted to re-establish the dharma. For that purpose, he establishes. He appears in this world. And next verse is also saying very nicely that what is the reason for his appearance? Paritranaya sadhunam vinasaya cha dushkrutam dharma samsthapanardhaya sambhavami yuge yuge. To deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. So this is pretty clear. Okay, he wants to protect his devotees and annihilate the miscreants who are giving disturbance to his devotees, and also re-establish dharma. But basically, the next verse is saying very, very beautifully. This is 10th canto from Srimad Bhagavatam 33 and 36. Okay. Anugrahaya bhaktanam, just to show his mercy to his bhaktas. Manusham dehamasitaha, he has taken a human form. Bhajate tadrishah krida yashrutva tadparo bhavet. When the Lord assumes a human-like body to show his mercy to his devotees, he engages in such pastimes as will attract those who hear about them to become dedicated to him. So what is the reason for Krishna's appearance? He wants to show mercy to his devotees and engage them in hearing of his pastimes, so that they would get attracted to pastimes of the Supreme Lord and decide to come back to him. So that is what Krishna actually does. We will read this a little bit of translation. Srila Jiva Goswami explains in this connection that when Lord Krishna descends to this world in his original two-handed form, out of kindness, he manifests that form in a way his devotees conditioned in human society can perceive and understand. So basically, for conditioned souls he comes. Thus here it is stated, Manusham Deham Astitaha. He assumed a human-like body. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur glorifies the Lord's conjugal pastimes, stating that these romantic affairs have an inconceivable spiritual potency to attract the polluted heart of the conditioned souls. Okay, how we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, right? All the Lord's activities, and also the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam about his Rasa Leela and Gopi Geet, Venu Geet, so many things, by reading that, our hope is that our hearts will get melted for their love for Krishna, and slowly, we should also, maybe the hope that we will also develop such kind of love for Krishna. It's an undeniable fact that any pure or simple-hearted person who hears narrations of the loving affairs of Krishna will be attracted to the lotus feet of the Lord and gradually become his devotee. So, this is the reason for his appearance. Now, after the reason for his appearance, we are going to discuss why actually, Supreme Personality of Godhead, why he wants to create the material world. Okay, now we have understood actually the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and why the reason for his appearance in this material world. Now, the reason for the creation. This is a very, very beautiful verse. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto, 24.58 is mentioning the reason for his for creation of this material. Why Lord creates basically this material world. Yanmaya chesitam pumsaha sityutpatyapyaya hi anugrahastanya vrutter atmalabhaya chesyate. So it is mentioned the Supreme Personality of Godhead acts through his material energy in the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this cosmic manifestation, just to deliver the living entity, by his compassion and stop the living entity's birth, death, and duration of materialistic life. Thus, he enables the living being to return home back to Godhead. See how clearly it is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam verse itself, right? Whatever we discussed, the initial discussion we had, right? So same thing is mentioned here. Of course, I have understood from these verses only that out of lot of compassion, just to deliver us from this cycle of birth and death, Krishna creates this material universe. Okay, then the next session is how Lord creates, how he now we understand the Lord creates, but now it is time for us to understand how the Lord creates. It is mentioned in the Brahma Samhita verse, very beautiful verse. Stusti sthiti pralaya sadhana shakti rekha chaye vayasya bhuvanani bibalti durga ischa narupam api yascha chacheshtate sa govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. the external potency Maya, who is of the nature of the shadow of the Chit potency. That means that Krishna, through his external potency Maya, which is it has a shadow of its the existential Chit potency is the existential potency of the Supreme Lord, is worshipped by all the people as Durga. So basically, through Durga Devi, Krishna is creating, the preserving and destroying agency of this mundane world, Durga Devi. So I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in accordance with whose will Durga conducts herself. So through Durga Devi, Maya Devi, through his external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna is creating this world, maintaining it, and annihilating this. Okay, and then now 5.544 I have read, so I'll close this. Now, it is also mentioned how the creation happens in the Brahma Samhita, verse 5.47 and 48. यः कारणार्णवजले भजति स्म योगा निद्रामनन्त जगदन्द सरोमकूपः आधारशक्तिमवलम्ब्य परां स्वमूर्तिं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who, assuming his own great subjective form, who bears the name of Sesha, replete with all the accompanying potency, accommodating potency, and reposing in the causal ocean with the infinity of the world in the pores of his hair, enjoys creative sleep, yoga nidra, the process of creation on the on the Sesha, basically the Mahavishnu lying on the Sesha, and he is in a deep sleep. He's taking his breath, but he's in deep sleep. The Lord's sleep is not like our sleep, right? He's in the yoga nidra. And in 48, it is mentioned that यशैकनिश्वसितकालमधावलम्ब्य जीवन्ति लोमविहजा जगदन्दनादः विष्णुर्महान् स यस्य कलाविशेषो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि. Brahma and other lords of the mundane worlds, appearing from the pores of hair of Mahavishnu, remain alive as long as the duration of the one exhalation of the later Mahavishnu. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whose subjective personality Mahavishnu is the portion of portion. So how it is mentioned here, like how Mahavishnu takes breath, when he inhales and annihilates, how the universes are produced and annihilated. So this is the process of creation of the Supreme Lord. And even in 9.7, Krishna mentions clearly, Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakrutam Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshaye Punastani Kalpado Vishtujamaham. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. So we have discussed in the introduction, right, how Krishna creates and annihilates and again creates, again creates and again annihilates, again creates out of compassion. So this is also mentioned in these verses. Now, actually, we will discuss about the eternally conditioned and eternally here in the purport, right? Srila Prabhupada talks about the original verse. If we go eternally conditioned soul and eternally Nityamuktas, right? The living entities are of two parts and parcels of the Lord. There are two varieties, namely Nityamukta and Nityabadha. So who are Nityamuktas? Nityamuktas are eternally liberated souls. So what do they do? Here it is clearly mentioned, and they are eternally engaged in the reciprocation of transcendental loving service with the Lord in his eternal abode. So reciprocation of transcendental loving, why reciprocation is mentioned here? Because they are reciprocating for the love of the God, actually. So Krishna is loving them, and they are reciprocating in the transcendental love of the Lord. So when we understand this, it is clearly mentioned, like where they would be. The liberated is very, very nicely given in the Brahma Samhita verse. आनंद चिन्मय रसा प्रतिभाविताभि ताभिर्ययेव निज रूपतया कलाभि गोलोकयेव निवसत्य अखिलात्मभूतो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि. What do they do? The eternally liberated souls is clearly mentioned here. How they are enjoying, actually they are enjoying. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha. So they are basically with Radha and Krishna, serving them, resembling his own spiritual figure. The embodiment of the ecstatic potency consists of the 64 artistic activities in the company of her confidants, Sakhis. So the eternally liberated souls, actually they are in the Sakhi's form, eternally enjoying serving Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, the embodiments of the extensions of her bodily form. Who are these Sakhis? Basically none other than the expansions of the extensions of Srimati Radharani, and permeated and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual rasa. So they are connected with the Lord very beautifully in his very spiritual blissful rasa, and they're enjoying with the Lord in the spiritual world with by serving Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna. So that's what they were doing. And in how about the unfortunate situation of the materially conditioned souls? We can we can see here in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, who are actually, when we go to the original verse, who are actually the eternally Nityabadhas, or eternally conditioned souls, are interested to his external energy Maya for the rectification of the rebellious attitude towards the Supreme Father, right? So this we can understand the situation of the Madhya, eternally conditioned souls. कृष्ण बोली से ये जीवा आनंदी बहिर्मुखा तैव माय तरे देय samsara dukha. Forgetting Krishna, the living entity has been attracted by the external feature from time immemorial, like us. Therefore, the illusory energy Maya gives him all kinds of misery in his material existence. So, while the eternally, liberated souls are enjoying with the service of Radha and Krishna and enjoying the spiritual bliss, we are unfortunately the conditioned living entities attracted by Maya since time immemorial, are thinking that we are enjoying here, but actually that is not actually enjoyment. We are actually, that is the root cause of our suffering, basically, because in this material world, whatever the action we do, for our sense enjoyment, that gives automatic reaction, that is suffering. So we are thinking that we are liberated. We are not. We are enjoying, but that's not actual enjoyment. So now actually it is when the situation of the eternally conditioned and eternally liberated souls is given very beautifully in the 15.16 verse, and 17 verse. Dvamivo purusho loke ksharaschakshara eva chakshara sarvani bhutani kutosto kshara uchyate. There are two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the fallible and infallible means conditioned and liberated souls. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, that is eternally conditioned souls. And in the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible, that is, they are eternally eternal muktas. Basically, they are liberated souls. And if we could easily understand by reading this paragraph what is about this, why we are called as infallible and fallible. According to the statement of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, there are two classes of living entities. The Vedas give evidence of this, so there is no doubt about it. The living entities who are struggling in this world with the mind and five senses have their material bodies which are changing. So we have changing bodies, right? There are 6 transformations happens in our body. As long as the living entity is conditioned, his body changes due to contact with matter. Matter is changing. So the living entity appears to be changing. In the spiritual world, the body is not made of matter. Therefore, there is no change. In the material world, the living entity undergoes 6 changes: the birth, growth, duration, reproduction, then dwindling and vanishing. These are the changes of the material body. But in the spiritual world, the body does not change. There is no old age, there is no birth, there is no death. They all exist in oneness. Oneness means not merging into the Lord, but oneness in the consciousness of Krishna. Ksharaha sarvani bhutani. Any living entity who has come into contact with matter, beginning from the first created being Brahma down to small ant, is changing its body. Therefore, they are infallible. So why we are called as eternally conditioned and infallible? Because we have material body, and material body goes 6 kinds of transformations. That is why we are called it infallible. While in the spiritual world, however, they're always liberated in oneness, in one consciousness, merging our consciousness with Krishna's consciousness. We have spiritual bodies, and that spiritual body doesn't go any transformation. So they are called as infallible. Okay. And not only these two, but there is another thing is there. Uttamaha Purushatva Anyaha Paramatmeti Uddhrataha Yo Lokatrayam Avishya Vibratyavyaya Ishvaraha. Besides these two, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the 3 worlds and is manifesting them, maintaining them. So there are eternally conditioned, eternally liberated, and the Supreme Lord. 3 of us are there, basically. And so another thing I just want to mention here is, just a minute, when next comes to the point that why we have to read the scriptures. Okay, there are different sections, right? So now we have to understand, if one does not read the scriptures, basically what happens. So it is mentioned in a very beautifully in the 16 Bhagavad Gita 16.23 that Yashashravidim utristya vartate kamakarataha na sasiddhim avapnoti na sukham na paramgatim. We had discussed in the introduction itself that Krishna has, out of his compassion, has given us the scriptures to read, right? Because he wants us always to come back to him. So what happens if we don't read the scriptures? He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness, nor the supreme destination. So this is what it is going to happen. If we just ignore the scriptures and don't want to read them and don't want to understand the instructions, so we don't get any perfection. We don't have any happiness in our lives. Now that we are not able to achieve any supreme destination. Okay. This is mentioned. Now, why we have to actually read the scriptures, okay, is mentioned. Just a minute. So there are two things, two reasons are there why we have to, read the scriptures. Just a minute. So people actually who, for two reasons, for people who want to read them and who want to understand them and who want to follow them and who want to go back to Godhead, for them the scriptures are given, one category. The other category is who wants to read them and take the, as mentioned in the second chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, that they will get attracted to the flowery words of the Vedas and they want to have sense enjoyment. Oh, because of that, it's been given. Okay, so first we will understand who are actually want to follow the scriptures. And want to go back to Krishna. Yomamevam asamudho janati purushottamam sa sarvavid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Whoever knows me as a supreme personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. So people who are actually want to know Supreme Lord, they read scriptures and they actually understand, they engage themselves in devotional service. So they, by the devotional service, they could understand the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And another next verse is also saying very beautiful, message. Iti guhyatamam shastram idamuktam maya naka etad buddha buddhiman syat kritakrityascha bharata. This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is disclosed by me. What is the most confidential part? By doing devotional service, basically one can understand Krishna. That is given in the part in the Vedic scriptures as a most confidential part. So one should, when we read the scriptures, then we could understand the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise and his endeavors will know perfection. So one has to have intelligence to understand this, how I would get perfection by reading the scriptures in the association of devotees and try to understand them. One has to try to perfect their lives. And now persons actually who want to Krishna, for karmis, who want to enjoy by reading scriptures and doing some sacrifices and all that. Krishna is very beautifully, Brahma is beautifully explained about their situation, how Krishna helps them actually. Yasindra gopama davendra mahosva karma bandhanurupa falabhajana matatoti karma niniddhati kintu cha bhakti bhajam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Basically, Sri Krishna, for pure devotees, he reciprocates accordingly. For karmis, he reciprocates accordingly. So that is what's mentioned here. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who burns up to their roots all fruitive activities of those who are imbued with devotion, the devotees, and impartially ordains for each the due enjoyment of the fruits of one's activities, while giving their fruits of results, but he also presents them devotion of all those who walk in the path of work, karmis, basically in accordance with the chain of their previously performed works, no less in the case of the tiny insect that bears the name of Indragopa than in that of Indra, king of the Devas. So Krishna basically avoids whatever that is one of the reasons for his giving scriptures is that he will fulfill all our desires. If we want to have an enjoyment in this material world, he allows that also. But if few devotees who wants to surrender to him by reading the scriptures, then he will do that also. Whatever the enjoyment as per our previous pious activities, that will be awarded, but at the same time devotion is also awarded to us. So that is the logic here. Okay, now the last section of Bhagavad Gita, the last section of this today's verse is mentioned in I want to discuss this, that basically we have born right from the beginning. We are basically born with Icha and Dvesha. What is Icha? Icha is a desire, and Dvesha is enviousness. We are born with this. Basically, it's imbibed in our in us by birth only, because our actually Icha and Dvesha has started when we were basically in the spiritual world only, because we had a desire to be a competitor for Krishna. So we want to enjoy separately from Krishna. We want to be the enjoyers, right? So that is a desire aroused when we were in the spiritual world only. And Dvesha, enviousness starts towards Krishna. Why Krishna is the Supreme Lord? Why we have to be his eternal servants? Why can't we enjoy ourselves? No, we don't want Krishna. We want to leave him. So that kind of enmity and enviousness arises in our hearts for Krishna. So we are born with these two qualities, very beautifully explained here. Icha dvesha samutena dvanda mohena bharata sarvabhutani sammoham sargeyanti parantapa. O sign of Bharata, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arising from desire and hate. So now actually what does an intelligent person does? It is mentioned in 5.22. Yahi samsparshaja bhoga dukhayo yayevate ajantavantah kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end. And so the wise man does not delight in them. So the wise people, they don't take delight in material senses pleasures, basically. And he is very intelligent and he takes up, Krishna consciousness as his prime duty. And he starts devotional service, which starts with actually Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam, complete surrender to Krishna, Manasa, Vacha, Karmana, by words, mind, and actions. The intelligent person will, completely gives life to Krishna. So, and moreover, Krishna never manifests unintelligent. That is, verdict given by Krishna himself, basically. So, Naham Prakashah Sarvasya Yogamaya Samavitaha Munoyam Abhijanati Lokoma Majamavyayam. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. See, Krishna himself is saying, so one has to have intelligence to attain Krishna. For them, I am covered by my internal potency. For who are foolish, unintelligent, Srila Prabhupada says unintelligent people, they are covered by internal potency. I am covered by my internal potency, because for them Krishna is covered by his internal potency, and he will keep others as in external potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. Basically, the nature of Krishna they are not able to understand. And Krishna finally says in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita 10.10, it's a very wonderful verse, how we can go back to him. Tesham sadata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenama upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So what we have to do is we have to always serve him. Constantly we have to devote to Krishna, but this is very hard actually. Constantly devoting to Krishna is a hard thing, but nothing is impossible when we are in the association of devotees, and when we read Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of devotees, and try to follow the 9 processes of devotional service as much as possible, we can always remember Krishna, and by that process, actually, Krishna gives an intelligence himself, how we can go back to Krishna. So this is my, understanding of this particular today's verse. It's 9 o'clock. Actually, I wanted to actually sing a very good Vaishnava bhajana, because because this verse is basically related to, how the living entity comes into, contact to the material nature, being enemies of Krishna. So when we are in the womb of our mothers, basically, this is a wonderful song by Bhakti Vinod Thakur. How, we have prayed to at that time we had the knowledge of Supreme Lord, and we remembered our previous births, and we were praying to Krishna very nicely. Bhuliya Tumhare Sang. Since it is already 9:01, I request all the devotees to go through the song and read the translations. Very clearly, it is mentioned about our situation. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna. I'm ending my lecture here. Hare Krishna. So yeah, maybe we can stop over here.
Thanks, Mataji. Thank you so. Yeah, please do it.
Sorry, Prabhu. Yeah, thank you so much, Mataji, for always such very lot of info-packed sessions. I really like the way how you connected various verses from very different scriptures, like we saw Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Brahma Samhita. Wonderfully how you connected all of them, Mataji. The sequence and everything is very, very nice. Thank you so much, Mataji. As always, I'll have to go and listen to the lecture again. But thank you for connecting them so well and making us all understand, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for your kindness to say that, Anita. Thank you so much.
Maya, thank you so much for a beautiful, wonderful class as always. Starting with the purport, and you have expanded on, devotees. We can take each sentence of Prabhupada and then expand it, more and more. And that's what you did pretty much, Mataji. Thank you so much for the amazing class as always.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can we stop over here, Prabhu, then?
Sure, Mataji. So thank you so much, all the devotees, for joining. Radha Kunda Mataji, for giving such a wonderful class.